Hi. In today's lesson, we're going to practice working with scientific notation word problems. So let's get started. Let's look at the very first problem. Number 1, the average distance from Neptune to the Sun is about 2.8 times 10 to the 9th miles. The average distance from Venus to the Sun is about 6.7 times 10 to the 7th miles. About how many times farther is Neptune from the Sun than Venus is from the Sun? So we've got two things here, two numbers in scientific notation. We've got Neptune and Neptune's distance, and then we have Venus and Venus's distance. Now, as I was looking at these, we can tell that Venus is going to be not as far from the Sun as Neptune. Now, hopefully we already know that from science class, but we can also see Neptune is that 10 to the 9th power, and Venus is only the 10 to the 7th power. So we know that Neptune is farther. So how many times farther is Neptune than Venus? So this is a problem where we're going to divide. So we're going to say Neptune's distance divided by Venus's distance. So that's going to be 2.8 times 10 to the 9th power divided by 6.7 times 10 to the 7th. So this is what we need to compute in order to figure out the answer. So just like the previous lesson, we're going to start off. We're going to do 2.8 divided by 6.7 times 10 to the 9th divided by 10 to the 7th. Now, in my calculator, I'm typing 2.8 divided by the 6.7, and I get a really long decimal number. So I'm going to round it off, but I get about 0.418. And then 10 to the 9th divided by 10 to the 7th is 10 squared. Now, notice none of my choices are numbers written in scientific notation. So they're all numbers that are written in standard form. So I'm going to go ahead and write this number in standard form. So if I change that to a number in standard form, then I would be moving my decimal point 2 times to the right. So I'm going to get 41.8. And I'm going to put that equals with the squiggly on top because that's an approximate answer. So it's about 41.8 times further away. So the best solution here is 42 times. That would be the best. So number 1 would be B. Make sure that you're showing your work for every problem. All right, let's go to number 2. When fully grown, a giraffe is approximately 4.5 meters in size. A fly is approximately 9 times 10 to the negative 3rd meters in size. About how many times smaller is the fly than the giraffe? Obviously, this fly is smaller. And then we want to know how many times smaller. So if we take the size of the giraffe and divide that by the size of the fly, then that would give us our solution here. So I'm going to write 4.5 because that's the size of the giraffe. Let me come over here. And the fly is 9 times 10 to the negative 3rd, right? Okay. There we go. All right, so 4.5 divided by 9 times 10 to the negative 3rd power. All right, so when I divide this out, first that 4.5 is not in scientific notation, but if it were, it'd be same as times 10 to the 0 power, right? So I'm going to do 4.5 divided by 9 times 10 to the 0 divided by 10 to the negative 3rd power. Now, if I do 4.5 divided by 9, I get 0.5. And 10 to the 0 divided by 10 to the negative 3rd. Remember, you subtract those exponents. So 0 minus negative 3, which is a 3. Looking at the choices, none of those choices are written in scientific notation. So we're going to change that to scientific notation. So my decimal point gets moved 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Leaving me with 500, which looks to be answer choice D. So the fly is 500 times smaller than the giraffe. Okay, let's go to number 3. There we go. Number 3 says the diameter of Mercury is about 3.0 times 10 cubed miles. The diameter of Saturn is about 7.5 times 10 to the 4th miles. Which statement below is true? So before I can determine what to do, I'm going to have to look at my statements. A, the diameter of Mercury is about 2.5 times greater than the diameter of Saturn. B, the diameter of Saturn is about 2.5 times greater than the diameter of Mercury. Okay. And then C and D, same thing, but they're talking about 25 times greater. So one of these has a greater diameter, and we want to know how many times greater. So first we've got Mercury's diameter is 3 times 10 cubed, and then Saturn's diameter is 7.5 times 10 to the 4th. Well, first, who has the greater diameter? Both of the numbers that I've just highlighted are in scientific notation. And since they're both in scientific notation, you only have to look at the power of 10. So 10 cubed versus 10 to the 4th. Well, 10 to the 4th is bigger, and that goes with Saturn. So Saturn is going to have the larger diameter. Or the greater diameter. So A talks about Mercury having a greater diameter, and so does C. So it's not A or C. So now we need to figure out how many times greater is Saturn's diameter than Mercury's. So this is a division. So I'm going to take Saturn's diameter divided by Mercury's. So I'm going to do 7.5 times 10 to the 4th divided by 3.0 times 10 cubed. So that's 7.5 over 3.0 times 10 to the 4th divided by 10 cubed. So when I do 7.5 divided by 3.0, I get 2.5 times 10 to the 4th divided by 10 cubed is 10 to the 1st. Now I'm going to need to change that to standard form, which means the decimal point gets moved one time to the right. So that's equal to 25. So Saturn's diameter is 25 times greater than that of Mercury, which is answer choice D. Notice if you didn't change your number to standard form and just looked at that, the number part of the number in scientific notation, you would have picked B. So be careful. Okay, let's go to the next page. So we're looking at number 4. Number 4, it just says which choice is equivalent to 2.3 times 10 cubed. So we're going to write that down. And all I got to do is I'm going to write down my decimal part, and I'm going to move my decimal point 3 times to the right. 1, 2, 3. And then the empty dips get filled up with zeros. So that is C, 2,300. All right, we'll do number 5, and then you can practice some on your own. So number 5, it says a standard brick weighs 4.5 pounds. Seth needs 1.2 times 10 to the 4th bricks to build his house. What is the total weight of the bricks for Seth's house? And notice all of your choices here are in scientific notation. So we know that this is the weight of a brick, 4.5 pounds, and then he needs this many bricks, 1.2 times 10 to the 4th. So we're going to multiply those two quantities together. So I'm going to do 4.5 times 1.2 times 10 to the 4th. Now, when I multiply numbers in scientific notation, we said we multiply the numbers and then we multiply the powers of 10. The 4.5 wasn't written in scientific notation, it was just written in standard form. So I'm just going to have times 10 to the 4th. All right, so I'm going to do 4.5 times 1.2, and that gives me 5.4, and then all I got to do is bring down the times 10 to the 4th power. And I can see that number is already in scientific notation, and that is answer choice C. Answer choice C. Okay, so now it's going to be your turn. So now I want you to complete problems 6 and 7, 8, 9, and 10. So basically the rest of the sheet. So pause the video and complete the rest of this sheet. Good luck. All right, guys, hopefully you did well with these problems. So on this page, you can see the solutions to problems 6 and 7. You'll need to pause the video to check your answers. Please remember that you should have work shown for every problem. So you can pause the video now. Great. Now I'll show you, here's the solutions to problems 8 and 9. You can go ahead and pause the video. And here's number 10. Remember that you should have shown your work for every problem. If you have questions about any of these problems or any of the problems that I did earlier on in the video, make sure you ask your teacher for assistance. Once you've submitted this, then you can complete your independent practice. Good luck.